What's up, WODProof community? Today we're here to talk about ring muscle ups. So we're working on getting more efficient, better quality ring muscle ups. This is my favorite drill to show you. So I really like this box elevated drill. When we set it up, we're gonna set up so the box is just in front of the rings, but not too far out where you can't transition over the rings. The biggest faults I see with beginners trying ring muscle ups and people who aren't efficient at them is that they catch really low and they're almost between the rings as opposed to being on top of the rings. So my goal with this drill is to work on the transition so I can get on top of the rings and not have the rings out to my side where they're outside of my body and then it's really hard to get out of. People who have really good mobility through the shoulders are able to kind of get it done because the rings are outside and they're just flexible enough. More tight people, tighter shoulder mobility, less rotation through the shoulders, aren't able to do that, and you just can't get through big sets of muscle ups doing that every single time. So we're gonna work on this drill using our hips to get over top of the rings as opposed to going through the rings.
All right, so we're gonna look at our setup here. So we're gonna set up with our feet on the corner of the box. Our hips and arms are gonna start straight and locked out. To initiate the movement, we're gonna bend at the hip, and then we're gonna pop the hips up, and this is gonna simulate our kipping movement. As I pop my hips up, I'm gonna pull nice and strong with my arms, and we're gonna pull to the bottom of the chest, so that allows our shoulders to be able to get on top of the rings as opposed to going through the rings. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is you need your hands to rotate on the rings as you pull, so you have to have a very relaxed but strong grip. If you are too engaged with the wrists, you're not gonna be able to turn over on the rings. Some common mistakes that we see during this movement: when we pull, oftentimes we see people pull to the shoulders as opposed to pulling past them into the bottom of the chest. When we pull to the shoulders, we have nowhere to go in our transition unless we're really flexible. Another common mistake we see is the hips not opening. If we do a ring muscle up and the hips stay closed and the knees tuck into the chest, it's almost impossible to complete that sit-up movement that we need to get over top of the rings. The last thing that's super important too is the hands not turning on the rings. If your hands can't rotate on the rings, you have nowhere to go in that transition. So I need my hands to turn over to make sure I can get into my catch. Notice the difference here when the hands turn over on the rings.
All right, guys, use that drill as a tool to help the quality of your muscle ups. Remember, we're trying to get on top of the rings and have them right in the front of the shoulders as opposed to having them outside of the shoulders. Give it a try, let us know how it goes.